A time when you never missed a gathering, dropped in on friends often, or showed up just because it felt like the right thing to do. But somewhere along the line, that started to shift. These days, you might pause before heading out, or you simply choose to stay in, and you know what? That's not something to feel bad about. Now, if you're like many of us, you might have wondered, why don't I visit people as much anymore? Have I become distant? Am I withdrawing? But the truth is, this change isn't about cutting people off. It's about something deeper. It's about how our lives evolve. As we age, our priorities change, our energy shifts, and we begin to view relationships a little differently. In today's video, we're going to talk about 6 honest, heartfelt reasons why many of us, especially in our later years, don't visit people as often as we once did. And these reasons, they're not signs of losing connection. In fact, they often reflect a deeper understanding of connection, one that values peace, authenticity, and purpose over routine and obligation. I want you to stick with me because if you've ever felt this quiet tug inside this subtle shift in how you spend your time and who you spend it with, then this might be the conversation you didn't even know you needed. And here's something else: you're not alone. I've spoken to so many people, friends, family, even viewers right here on this channel who've said, I used to feel guilty about staying home more until I realized I wasn't avoiding people, I was just choosing peace. So let's walk through this together. Let's unpack the why behind this change, not with shame, but with clarity and compassion. Because the older we get, the more we realize life isn't about how many people we see, it's about how we feel when we're with them. And maybe, just maybe, it's okay to choose presence over pressure and meaning over momentum. Ready? Let's dive into the first reason. Let's be honest, getting older comes with a few changes we don't always talk about. One of them, our energy isn't what it used to be. And I don't just mean physical energy. I'm talking about emotional and social energy too. The kind you need to hold long conversations, show up to every gathering, or drive across town just to drop by for a quick visit. In your younger years, maybe you were the kind of person who said yes to everything. You wanted to keep up with everyone, stay connected, never miss a birthday or barbecue. And back then, it felt good, it felt natural. But somewhere along the way, something shifted. That same social whirlwind that once energized you now feels like it takes more than it gives. And you know what? That's not a loss, it's a gain in clarity. As we grow older, we begin to recognize something powerful. Our time and energy are valuable, and not everyone or everything deserves a piece of them. We start asking different questions: who truly matters to me? Which relationships fill me up instead of drain me? Take Martin, for example. He used to feel guilty turning down invitations. He worried people might think he didn't care. But over time, he saw the truth. The people who truly loved him didn't need constant visits to feel connected. When he focused on fewer but deeper relationships, he felt more joy, more peace, and less pressure. Maybe you've had moments like that too. Times when you came home from a gathering and thought, why do I feel so tired? Not because it was physically exhausting, but because the connection wasn't meaningful, it was surface level. And those kinds of interactions as we age just don't feed the soul the same way. This isn't about shutting people out. It's about making room for the people who matter most. The ones who understand your quiet days, the ones who don't need an explanation when you choose to stay in, the ones who bring calm, not chaos. So, if you've found yourself pulling back socially, not because you're lonely, but because you're choosing peace, know this: you're not alone and you're not wrong. You're honoring your energy. And in this season of life, that might just be one of the most loving things you can do for yourself and for the people who truly see you. Let's keep going. The next reason might surprise you. You know, one of the quiet gifts of getting older is this: you begin to understand that not every get-together is worth your peace of mind. It's something we don't always talk about, but it's real and it's important. When we're younger, we tend to show up everywhere: family dinners, friend meetups, holidays, even when we don't really want to be there. We go out of duty or guilt or because we don't want to let someone down, but with time that begins to change, and thank goodness it does. Because at some point you start noticing how certain visits leave you feeling drained, not physically, but emotionally. Maybe it's the constant complaining, maybe it's the subtle judgment, the tension in the air, or those same old arguments that never seem to go away. Whatever it is, you leave thinking, why did I put myself through that again? Let me share a story. Grace, a long-time friend of mine, used to visit a particular family member out of habit. Every single time she'd come home upset, sometimes even in tears. There was always some form of conflict, passive comments, criticism, or just plain negativity. One day, she made a quiet but powerful decision: I don't have to do this anymore. And she stopped. She started spending time with people who uplifted her, who saw her for who she was and who made her feel at ease. And you know what? That shift changed everything. Now, this isn't about cutting people out or holding grudges. It's about protecting your peace, something we often overlook until we realize how fragile and precious it really is. Ask yourself, do I feel better or worse after I see this person? It's such a simple question, but it tells you everything you need to know, because your time and your mental well-being are too valuable to be spent in places that leave you feeling small or unsettled. Avoiding stress and drama isn't selfish, it's wise, it's self-respect, and anyone who truly loves you won't expect you to sacrifice your joy just to keep a seat at a table that no longer fits. So, if you're choosing to say no a little more often these days, if you're drawing gentle boundaries that give you space to breathe, you're not pulling away, you're protecting something sacred. And that's something worth honoring. Let's keep going. In the next part, we're going to talk about something that's often overlooked: why home feels more peaceful than ever. Let's talk about something simple but powerful: the comfort of being in your own space. There's just something about home, isn't there? As we grow older, that sense of peace you feel in your own surroundings becomes more than just convenient. It becomes essential. Your home isn't just a place, it's your place. It's where your favorite chair knows exactly how to hold you, where the lighting is just right, where you can move at your own pace, make your coffee just the way you like it, and sit quietly without having to explain yourself to anyone. When we're younger, we're always on the move. Social invitations, events, errands, group dinners, we say yes without thinking twice. But with time, the joy of rushing out the door gets replaced by the deep contentment of staying in. It's not about being antisocial, it's about finally appreciating what your own four walls offer you: comfort, calm, and control. Take Raymond, for example. For years, he felt obligated to attend every event, dinner, or get-together he was invited to. But it started to wear on him. He'd get dressed up, drive across town, make small talk in a noisy room, and spend the entire night wishing he was back home with a good book and a warm blanket. One day, he made a shift. He stopped forcing himself to go out, and instead, he began inviting people over when it felt right. No pressure, no show, just real connection on his terms. And suddenly, socializing felt like something he looked forward to again. And maybe you've felt that too. Maybe other people's homes feel too busy or unfamiliar. Maybe you just don't feel fully relaxed when you're not in your own space. And that's okay. There's nothing wrong with choosing familiarity over formality or ease over expectation, because the truth is, your home is a reflection of you. It's where you feel safe, it's where you've built a rhythm that works for your body, your mind, and your heart. So, if you find yourself saying no thanks to running around town and yes, please, to a quiet evening at home, know that it's not about missing out. It's about tuning in, you're honoring your needs, your preferences, and your peace. And that is something to be proud of. Next up, we'll talk about the beauty of having fewer but deeper friendships, and why that shift can be one of the most freeing choices you'll ever make. Here's something that tends to happen naturally as we grow older. We stop counting the number of people in our lives and start paying attention to the ones who truly matter. In our younger years, there's this unspoken pressure to build a big social circle. The more friends, the better, right? We fill our calendars with birthdays, brunches, and endless catch-ups, all in the name of staying connected. But somewhere along the way, we start to see it differently. We realize that it's not the number of people around us that brings comfort, it's the depth of the connection we share with a few. Think about it. How many people have you spent time with out of habit, not out of genuine joy? How many conversations have felt polite but shallow smiles on the outside, but no real warmth underneath? That's where Evelyn's story comes in. She was one of those people who always made the effort. Phone calls, holiday cards, dinner invites, she tried to stay on everyone's radar, but after a while it all became exhausting. She started to notice that many of those connections weren't actually filling her up, they were draining her, so she did something bold. She let go of the pressure to stay in touch with everyone, and instead she focused on the relationships that felt real, the ones where she could show up as herself even after weeks or months of silence and still feel known and loved. And guess what? Her social life didn't shrink, it deepened. It became more meaningful, more nourishing. This isn't about isolating yourself, it's about getting honest. Ask yourself, who do I feel completely myself around? Who brings out the best in me? Those are the people worth investing in. And here's the truth, relationships take energy. And just like with anything else in life, we only have so much to give. Wouldn't it make sense to give it where it counts? So if your circle's gotten smaller lately, but your heart feels lighter, that's no accident. That's growth. That's clarity. And it's a sign that you're choosing connection over performance, closeness over convenience. Stick with me, because in the next part, we'll dive into one of the biggest inner shifts that happens with age, how our priorities evolve, and why it's okay to finally put yourself first. One of the most beautiful and surprising things about getting older is how much our priorities begin to shift. What once felt urgent, necessary, or even exciting starts to lose its grip, and in its place, we begin to crave something quieter, something deeper, something more meaningful. In our younger years, we often move through life on autopilot, saying yes to every invitation, keeping up with appearances, filling our schedules just to stay busy. But eventually we pause, we take a breath, and we start asking ourselves, is this really making me happy? That question changes everything. For many people, this shift leads us inward. We no longer feel the need to be everywhere, do everything, or prove anything. Instead, we start valuing things like peace, presence, stillness, and self-care. We rediscover old hobbies, pick up books we've put off for years, take walks without rushing, or simply sit in silence and reflect. And for the first time in a long time, it feels good. I think of Samuel, who used to be the life of the party. He was at every event, always in the middle of the conversation, always moving. But after years of that rhythm, he started to feel empty, not lonely, just unfulfilled. So he made a change. He stopped chasing every social moment and began carving out time for himself. He found joy in quiet mornings, meaningful solitude, and even in the gentle routine of making his own meals. And guess what? He's never felt more grounded. This kind of shift isn't about turning your back on people, it's about turning toward yourself with kindness, it's about recognizing that your time is sacred and how you spend it should reflect what truly feeds your spirit. You might notice that you're no longer interested in small talk or surface-level gatherings. Instead, you find peace in smaller moments, intentional choices, and authentic connections, even if that connection is with yourself. So, if you're finding joy in your own company these days or feeling more selective about how you spend your time, that's not a loss. That's growth, that's wisdom, and it's one of the quiet victories of aging we don't celebrate enough. One of the most comforting lessons we learn as we grow older is this: real friendship doesn't rely on constant contact. It's not about how often you show up, it's about how deeply you're connected when you do. Think back to when you were younger, how much effort went into keeping friendships alive. Frequent phone calls, regular visits, little check-ins, just to make sure things didn't fade. It felt like if you weren't always present, you'd somehow lose the relationship. But now with the time and experience, you begin to see things differently. The people who genuinely care for you, they don't need you to show up all the time. They don't measure the friendship by how many times you call or how often you drop by. They measure it by the heart, the respect, the shared understanding, and the quiet knowledge that I'm here when it counts. Take Elaine's story. She used to carry so much guilt when she couldn't make every gathering or forgot to return a call right away. She worried that people would think she didn't care, but over time, she realized something powerful. The people who truly valued her never made her feel guilty. They didn't demand constant updates, they simply appreciated her presence whenever it came with warmth and grace. Maybe you've experienced this too. That one friend that you haven't spoken to in months, but when you finally reconnect, it's like no time has passed. You just pick up right where you left off. That kind of bond doesn't fade with time or distance, it deepens. And on the flip side, there may be relationships where you show up often, but something always feels missing. You're present but not seen. That's when you start to understand it's not about frequency, it's about depth. So, if you've been choosing peace over pressure, if you've stepped back from visiting just for the sake of keeping up, that doesn't make you a bad friend. It means you're investing in the kind of friendships that don't require proof. They just are. True friendship is resilient. It breathes with you. It allows space, respects boundaries, and shows up in the moments that matter most. Coming up next, we'll wrap things up with some final thoughts, a gentle reminder that this season of life is about living with intention, not obligation. Stick around. There's a quiet truth that starts to settle in as we get older. Stillness is not emptiness. It's where we begin to truly hear ourselves. When we're younger, it's easy to get swept up in the noise, social events, obligations, constant conversations. Life feels like it's always in motion, and back then we welcomed it. Silence could feel awkward, even lonely. So we filled every gap with people, plans, distractions. But as time goes on, something shifts. We begin to appreciate the calm. The space between the noise, the quiet mornings, the slow afternoons, the evenings when nothing is scheduled and no one is expected. And in those moments, we start to hear something we may have missed for years, our own voice. Stillness gives us the space to reflect, to breathe, and to ask the kind of questions that really matter. What truly makes me happy? Which relationships feel life-giving? Where have I been spending my energy? And is it worth it? Take Lydia, for example. She used to thrive in the middle of everything: lunch dates, volunteer events, family check-ins, always staying in the loop. She believed that staying connected meant staying relevant. But deep down, she was exhausted. So she tried something new. She began carving out one day a week with no plans, no phone calls, no visits, no noise. At first, it felt strange. But slowly that quiet time became sacred. In the stillness, she discovered how much she had been pushing her own needs aside. She started writing again. She took walks without a destination. She realized she didn't need to be everywhere to feel fulfilled, she just needed to be. Here's the thing, stillness isn't something to fear, it's something to nourish. It's not a void to be filled, it's a space to grow. And in today's busy, noisy world, giving yourself that space is one of the most powerful choices you can make. So if you've been spending more time alone lately, if you've been craving quieter days, that's not a problem to fix. It's an invitation to reconnect with yourself, to rebuild your energy, to rediscover joy on your own terms. You don't have to explain it, you just have to honor it. Stick around, we're almost at the end. In the final part, we'll bring everything together and reflect on why all of these choices add up to a more peaceful, purposeful life. So let's bring this all together. If you've found yourself visiting others less often these days, take a deep breath and hear me when I say this. That's not something to feel guilty about. In fact, it's often a quiet sign of growth, of wisdom, of knowing yourself better than ever before. The truth is, the way we connect with people naturally evolves over time. We don't always have the energy or the desire to keep up with every invitation or every expectation, and that doesn't mean we care any less. It means we're learning to care more intentionally. The 6 reasons we talked about: protecting your energy, avoiding unnecessary stress, finding comfort at home, prioritizing deep relationships, embracing self-reflection, and trusting that true friendships don't need constant upkeep, they all point to one thing: you are choosing a life that honors peace over performance, presence over pressure, meaning over habit. And that's a beautiful thing. Choosing how you spend your time isn't selfish, it's self-respect. It's saying, my time matters, my energy matters, my peace matters. And when you live from that place, something amazing happens. The relationships that truly matter stick around. The people who really see you don't need constant proof. They know your heart. We're not here to keep everyone happy. We're here to live meaningfully with love, intention, and purpose. And sometimes that means fewer visits, but deeper connections, more stillness, but richer clarity, less noise, but greater presence. Maybe for the first time in your life, you've started asking, what feels right for me? That question isn't selfish, it's sacred. So, if you've been quietly wondering why your world has gotten smaller or why you prefer peaceful mornings at home over packed calendars, know this: you are not alone. And you are not wrong. You're simply entering a new chapter 1 where you finally get to live life on your own terms. A chapter that's not about proving your worth through presence, but about trusting that your presence, when it's given freely and genuinely, is more than enough. Thanks for spending this time with me today. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. What resonated most with you, and how are you choosing to honor your peace in this season of life? If this message brought you comfort or clarity, please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who might need to hear it too. Until next time, take care of your heart, and remember, your time is a gift. Spend it wisely.